Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to Exclamation Points, episode 2. I love fucking with everybody before we start recording. It's awesome. Hey, Matt and Becca and Red here. So, technically, yes, we're releasing this as episode 2. It's technically our 5th episode, whatever. We'll figure out the numbers later because this one's very time sensitive because we're about to talk about, well, Mortal Kombat first, and then we're going to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier because, like, holy shit, we an entire episode devoted to the show. But before that, like I said, first of all, today is whatever Sunday, the 25th of April. The reason why I pointed out is because, like I said, Mortal Kombat came out, the new one, just 2 days ago, and honestly, I loved it. Like blew my mind. Like I was watching it. I don't care how much like the fan service what they did with it. I freaking loved it. But then Scofield opened his mouth and so, Scofield, what did you think of it again?
I thought it was meh.
No, what did you say in the text? It was a solid meh.
Meh. Yeah.
At least instead of a soggy meh.
I mean, it was enjoyable. It was entertaining, but I had a lot of issues with it. I mean, I don't know how much you want to do spoilers for this.
Honestly, I'll just slap a spoiler alert on this thing. Well, actually, wait, Becca, do you care?
No, God, no.
Okay, cool. Anyways, in that case,
spoiler warning here. Okay. I didn't think Cole had any point in the storyline.
Okay.
The new character they made for the show, don't know why he was in it. Made no sense. His arcana at the end, his superpower was the stupidest thing in the world. The whole point of this guy is just would take beatings in cage matches, and he wouldn't win fights, Fen. Mm-hmm. So when he got a superpower, it was to get his ass kicked and then get stronger, which I thought was the dumbest thing.
Like he absorbs the punches, and then the next time he fights, he's
a Black Panther suit.
Thank you. I was going to say Black Panther suit. Yeah, it really. I'm not gonna lie. When it happened and I realized what was going on, my first thought was Black Panther suit. Though. I will admit, I will give you that one. So
yeah, but here's the thing too. Okay, so he's supposed to be this guy, right? He's supposed to be the new like hero for whatever reason, right? He's a brand new character, comes in, kills Goro by himself without really making it look that difficult, and kills Sub-Zero at the end of the movie without making it look that difficult. Like it felt like a fucking fan fiction. Because it was a new character,
self-insert character,
like aha, you know. Well, the character being written into Star Trek and then like seducing Spock, right, and like proving Kirk wrong, like oh, ha. He's basically like I'm smarter than Spock, right? It was crap. I did not enjoy it for that reason. I thought
you're also missing the other part about Cole's storyline, his lineage.
Yes, well, yeah, he was the great whatever grandson of Scorpion, was his whole point. Which again, okay, then make him Scorpion.
Yeah.
Right?
Scorpion had to come back from hell to be able to take off the mask and
you have two Scorpions. Scorpion's good. Two Scorpions.
Double stingers.
I mean, we all saw Mortal Kombat 11. There were two Scorpions running around. It was fantastic. Right? We played Mortal Kombat 11, so like just make him Scorpion. And then at the end, when he has to like summon the ghost of Hanzo to kill Bi-Han, then great, you have old Scorpion and young Scorpion killing Bi-Han. I'm on board with that. Making them like ass kick man makes no sense to me.
Ass kick man.
Ass kick man.
I mean, seriously, he just got his ass kicked and gets like stronger because you're kicking his ass. I mean, that's stupid.
Was like the narrative arc of him kind of like getting stronger, and so like he's the person you're following, and then along the way you meet all your faves from the Mortal Kombat series.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it opens with Hanzo getting killed by Bi-Han, like the old Sub-Zero.
Right.
And then it jumps ahead like 400 years because it happens in like the 1600s. Which I'm like, fine. I also didn't think that was the best opening. I thought that was confusing to anyone who didn't understand Mortal Kombat. Like, obviously, I understood that was Bi-Han and Hanzo. They said their names. I know what's going to happen. I know who the Shiryu and the Lin Kuei are. I understand all that. But for like a normal person or even a casual fan just who's played the games, he's like, well, who the fuck are these people? Why is he burning into fire and turning into ash? Oh, did I pause or did you guys pause?
No, I
think paused.
I just thought you guys paused. It's weird.
No, it's big Mortal Kombat trying to cut you off.
Apparently,
I don't like the slander.
Well, but like I wouldn't have put that scene first. Mm-hmm. Right? There was a scene later where Jax fights Sub-Zero and chases him into a building as his whole cat and mouse game, and Jax eventually gets his arms frozen and ripped off. I would have started with that, right? Kind of move the plot around so that made sense in the beginning. just the audience is like, what the fuck is going on? Like, set Jax up as like, you know, the special forces kind of cop guy, and then I lose his arms in this crazy fight with a supernatural guy, and then have the audience go in, and then when we learn about Cole's lineage, then do the flashback to Hanzo
Mm-hmm.
and explain everything. Then it would have made it a lot better. It would have set the pacing a lot better. There are a lot of times those movies just kind of dragged plot wise, and I was like, this is bizarre. And then the real thing that got me more than anything else is I thought the fighting for the most part was pretty lackluster. It wasn't bad, but I've seen a lot of like really, really good martial arts films. And if this was supposed to be like selling on the martial arts, I thought it was okay. That's why it was a solid meh. It wasn't bad by any stretch of imagination, but I watched it and was kind of like, okay, I'm kind of underwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the narrative structure was kind of blah. The characters were a little wooden, and the fighting itself wasn't really anything to write home about. That was my.
Wait, I'm sorry. All the characters are wooden. Kano.
Okay, yes, I will give you that.
Thank you. Okay.
I did laugh quite often at Kano. Kano was very, very funny.
Yes.
The whole movie, he really carried the movie for me.
Oh yeah.
The whole time. Also, they did my boy wrong. Red. They just did him wrong.
Which one is your boy?
Didn't they?
Kung Lao is his boy, and yeah, they had to have a Shang Tsung fatality. So
they killed Kung Lao.
Yep.
Did they do X-rays? So I'm wondering. First of all, my question is like, what were your expectations going in? Because like I would go into this assuming that like the story stuff wouldn't be great, but they would do the fighting stuff well, and it would just be kind of like a fan service in that way. Which it sounds like maybe is also not the case. But like, if they did lean more into that than they did into the story structure, like, did they go full out? Did they do the X-rays?
So first of all, they didn't get to the tournament. It was actually build up to what was supposed to be the tournament, which honestly I think was actually kind of cool. Yeah, I like. I was gonna say I'm the opposite of Scofield, where I thought it was it was a really good movie. Like I said, a lot of fan service. No X-ray moves, which I think would have been maybe too cheesy to kind of pull off. I mean, you had the cheese of like, you know, like a fatality move happening, and then one of them like Kung. Okay, so one of my favorites is Kung Lao. Like puts his hat into the ground and starts spinning like a circular saw, and then he grabs his opponent who's laying down by the legs, and then from crotch to ass, crotch to head, splits the guy. And so he ended up riding on Natara, right? That's her name.
Natara, yeah.
So he ends up riding her into his hat, and then she splits down the middle, and then he's like,
but X-rays would be too cheesy.
But no, then he goes, flawless victory. And I'm like, oh my God, come on. That was too much.
Say what you said again, Finn. Say what you said again.
But that was too cheesy. Yeah. I feel like this Cole character, if they're going to invent a character for no reason, his thing should have been that he has X-ray goggles or something. Like he looks like fucking Cyclops from X-Men. And so he can see that. And he's just like a fanboy, like watching everything. And then at the end, whatever, he can become his own hero and have power. But
if
you're going to go into town, you might as well go to Lincoln, is what I'm saying.
Wow. Well, at least he didn't do any babalities. So that's good. Like that would have been really weird.
That's just funny. Well, I mean, my major issue was the Cole thing, like I said, and the fighting. But like the fighting, the thing that kills me is this guy who plays Cole. I forget his name. Mm-hmm. Is a Chinese British actor who's actually a martial artist, who apparently knows how to fight. And the guy who plays behind Sub-Zero is Joe Taslim. I think is how you pronounce his name, Taslim, who's in The Raid, which is one of the best martial arts films that have come out in the last like 2 decades.
I will attest to that. I have seen it, and it's absolutely bonkers amazing.
Bonkers good. And the plot and the narrative structure of that and the cinematography are all great.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? The story's actually good in The Raid. I actually like the story. I think they have a lot of good scenes. There's a couple of good YouTube channels devoted to like showing the building of tension in the first few scenes of The Raid. And how they do it from like different angles. Like the guys going up and they're seeing the shadows come over them when they're going to have the whole gunfight over in the stairwell that kills most of the cops in the beginning of the film. It's very well done. I mean, the combat is also, I thought in The Raid, the combat was way more brutal than Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And Mortal Kombat is known for brutality, right? And blood and gore. The Raid, I loved it. It actually made me sick to my stomach a couple of times because there are some really gory, nasty kills. Right. The most famous, I think, is where he jumps the guy and slams the guy's head into the broken door in the neck and like decapitates him, basically.
Yeah.
Which is like awesome. Like, oh, when he does it, like, oh man, then you kind of pan around, you're like, oh my god, that's awful. But it's very entertaining. It's very good, very well done. The whole fight with Wild Dog, where he sticks the halogen bulb in the guy's neck,
God, yeah.
right? It's super violent, but really well done.
So that shared some actors with Mortal Kombat, but
There's at least
wasn't
one.
quite the same. So like either they were underutilized or like it was the director or like the choreographer who really made that versus like just the pure star power
I
itself.
even made the comment to Scofield earlier. Honestly, I think some of the fight scenes from the 1995 super cheesy one was actually kind of better.
The reptile fight in the original film was actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, and that was in a reshoot, by the way. There was that one, and there was another fight that was really fantastic. That comes up. Oh, it was the Scorpion Johnny Cage Hell fight. Those are the two fights that are like that blow people away when they watch the movie because they're so well done. But they're actually come to find out they were actually in reshoots, which was I think is hilarious. But yeah, no. So the other thing is that this movie though I think was a great movie for me was just to turn off my brain. And for an hour and 45 minutes, just literally gets fan service to my face. Like there was so many eggs. There was so many times that, like I was poking my wife's leg with my hand, or I was jumping my leg was going because like this or that or what is happening.
There's a lot of fun little things too. There was Katana, Shinnok was nodded to in the film. There were some good little nods to it. I thought that was pretty good.
But for me also, so I'm a huge fan of Superstore, the TV show, and Josh Lawson, I believe is his name, the guy who plays Kano, plays the pharmacist in Superstore, and so when I was like, the pharmacist from Superstore got cast as Kano, I literally was like,
great.
What? Like, okay, I don't know about it, but then no joke, like literally within 5 seconds of him coming on screen, because I don't watch trailers for any of the watchers or listeners. I don't watch trailers, so I avoid them like the plague. But I've seen like the posters and the still shots of his character, and I was still very much like, okay, I'm very much looking forward to seeing if this is going to be good or bad, but I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. And then within like 5 seconds, his like literally he just said something off screen, and I'm just like, oh. And then they came over to him, and in the first like minute, I'm like, yes, he's doing him justice, and he did an amazing job.
He did an amazing job. There's one scene that really got me with him. Liu Kang and Kano are like training, and Liu Kang trips him, and he falls down. And he's like, oh fuck, okay, fine, I'll give you that one. He trips him a second time. He gets back up, and he's like, is that the only fucking thing you know how to do? So he goes to trip him the third time, and he jumps. And as he's in midair, he realizes that Liu Kang is not actually going to trip him. He just fainted him. And on his way down, he's like, oh, fuck it, and gets tripped and gets knocked down again. But the delivery of the whole thing is just like absolutely hilarious. Yep. He realizes like mid-jump, he's like, oh, fuck, and then gets knocked down. It is really well done. Yep. There's all that little like timing crap with him that he does a really good job with. He's actually really goddamn funny in that film.
Which is why I'm, again, really hoping that he comes back. But the last thing I'll say is this. The fact that the actor who plays Sub-Zero has already said in an interview like 3 days ago that he's been signed up for the next 4 films if this one succeeds.
I was going to ask if they set up for a sequel.
But here's the best part though. Again, spoiler alert, but Sub-Zero dies at the end, which means that he's going to come back as new.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I'm so fucking excited.
I'm very happy, Jimmy, if we get a new Cybot versus Kung Lao fight on screen. Because then it'll just be a redo of anytime you and I play.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's who we play.
I don't even care if I'm in the theater. I'm literally just going to text you and be like, dude.
It's me. When that's going to happen, I'm going to text you, and then I'm going to flip out if Baraka comes on screen, because that's my other main in Mortal Kombat.
They did make a reference to
him more than the Kung Lao, I think. Do you?
True. I fucking hate you as Barack. So moving along from Mortal Kombat. So again, today's the 24th of April. And so 2 days ago was the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier in the first season, I should say. And honestly, I think that 6 episodes was too short, personally. I would love to have seen this go longer, but I understand like the circumstances, because my understanding is that they wanted to go longer. They wanted to go 10, but because of COVID, and so even before COVID, actually, where they were going to film most of it, I think it was down in Puerto Rico, if I remember correctly, or the Dominican Republic, one of the two, and it got hit really badly by a hurricane, and so they had that delay. Then they had, then COVID hit and everything else. So, but Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. Like I loved WandaVision, but this show so good. So like does anybody not agree with me on that?
No, I kind of want to let you guys go. I'm a big Marvel guy, as you
Mhm.
guys know. I'm really into the comics. I've read the comics as a kid. We'll talk about some of that when another episode. We got a whole bunch of
Oh,
stuff
I
we're
was
going
gonna
to
say
talk about.
we gotta do a whole episode for you, yeah.
That is like we'll talk about that. Um, and of all the Marvel characters, probably in my top three, if not my absolute top one, is Captain America. I love Captain America. I know a lot about Captain America and his like whole story and his like the mythos around Steve Rogers. So watching a whole show that really should have just been called like The Legacy of Steve Rogers, right? Because that's really what this show was about. Was great. Like watching all of this and seeing a lot of like Steve's rogue gallery in here, like seeing Batroc the Leaper, seeing Baron Zemo on screen was really fun. I know Daniel Bruhl was upset he wanted to wear the mask more than he owned that one scene. And like he wanted to wear it in Civil War and they wouldn't let him. And he's like, I want to like have the full like fur collar coat, right? The big long fur collar coat with the purple mask. He looks great in the comics.
Why didn't they let him do it during Civil War? That would have been awesome.
Because they hadn't built up to him being Baron Zemo yet. That was kind of his origin story as a villain. This was really him like as a supervillain that he is now.
Okay, because I have something else to say about this. But
Sure.
well, so actually, really, I'll just say it. So I don't know why. Anyways, so my whole thing is this.
We're here to talk about things.
Well, I didn't want to cut you off. Sorry, I didn't want to steamroll
Baron
you.
Zemo make you cry.
Okay, anyways, okay, so my one thing is this though. So the one big thing I kind of have about the show with the Baron, for instance, the big thing about the Baron is this: in Civil War, my understanding is that, now, not knowing the comics, is that he's a guy whose family gets killed because of the actions of the Avengers.
Right.
And then all of a sudden in this show, though, he mentions, if I remember correctly, he only mentions his family like once or twice, and then come to find out he's this rich guy that also wears a mask every once in a while and a fur
He's
coat.
a Baron.
But it was just kind of like, it felt to me, not knowing any background from the comics, that it kind of felt like two different characters. I don't know if maybe I missed an explanation somewhere or that I didn't realize or understand, but it was just kind of weird to me that all of a sudden he was this rich dude that like had a butler who
The butler was funny.
his butler was fucking badass, dude, at the end of that episode.
What got me that I had to Google afterwards was he makes like some one-off comment. I think it was when he had like the Turkish delight or something. I think he like mentioned having a kid, which had never entered my mind that that person procreated. And then I had to look into that and get that whole sad story. But the butler stuff was whatever. It did kind of throw me for a loop when I saw him and he like gave him a kiss, and then they had like little funny jokes on the plane about giving people rotten food.
Yeah, that was gross but funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people had the same sentiment, Jimmy. Where they're like, you like Zemo in this? He was really good. I liked him in War too. I think his motivations were interesting. My wife and I talked about it when we watched it, and Stace was saying, she's like, I don't like Zemo, but again, I wouldn't rather there not be superheroes than there be superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if there are superheroes and there are supervillains and everything just gets like escalated up, if we're talking like a real world kind of situation, I don't want Superman running around because that means there's also, the dark side.
Right.
I don't want the Hulk running around because that means there's also the Abomination, like a Red Skull and Cap. Like I don't want that duality in the actual world.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah.
Right. But in the Marvel universe, it's kind of a hard argument to make because, like, well, hey, yeah, I don't want super soldiers either, but guess what? They exist, so now we have to use them.
They're way too far in for that kind of black and white.
You can't fix it now, man. It just is what it is. But so that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, there is a long-standing history. Just to give it a little bit of a defense, there is a long-standing history of royalty in the military. Mm-hmm. Right, like Prince Harry was in the military. Usually, the second son of the Crown of England goes to the military. I think that's tradition. So him being like an intelligence officer for Sokovia, but also a baron in Sokovia, I didn't think that was that far fetched. Mm-hmm. Right, I'm like, okay. I mean, I also knew it was coming because I know that he's actually Baron Zemo. Right. But look, I'm like, okay, I could buy it. Like, I think it was a little weird that he's like super rich. And I think Sam even said that. He goes, "Oh, you're rich now," and he's like, "Oh, I've always been rich." Like, it's just kind of like a little funny throwaway line when they're at the airport.
Right.
I think it was good, but
yeah,
you guys go into your comments. I will go after because I'm just curious what you guys think. Only thing I will say to your question, though, Jimmy, I think WandaVision was more creative,
right?
more groundbreaking than Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I think Falcon and Winter Soldier had a lot more depth to it than people are giving it credit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like, so from I guess from the beginning, like I think that there was definitely a lot of depth again, like you just said. There was so much depth because Sam's character. Well, first of all, you would think that Iron Man, like Tony Stark, whether he's dead or not, would take care of his crew, and kind of find out he wasn't. And it might be because Sam did kind of, cripple what's his name? Brody. So, or sorry, Rhodey. So maybe he doesn't give him any money because of that. I don't know. But
Well, it's like government contracts is the thing that's supposed to pay them.
Right.
Well,
yeah, true. So I guess that was something that was definitely a new kind of newer. Like they really more went into the depth of that because of like the fact that like he had to go for the loan, and then they had that whole conversation with that guy, which, but I'm not gonna lie, that scene was both funny and heartbreaking at the same time somehow, and they succeeded in doing that, and I give him super credit for that. And I did, and I know that like a couple of some things, some critics online have been all about like, well, I think they went a little bit too hard with the whole black superhero thing. That's reality. Whether or not the last year or so has happened, not to get too serious, but I'll try to cut this short, but not, whether or not the last year or so has happened in the world, it really doesn't matter. Even before all that stuff, that's the exact situation that they were going through. Like that.
Oh yeah.
Sense. It's
like that had nothing to do with like the current stuff. Like that's just like
that's just life.
Like this is a superhero that literally represents a very flawed country and a really long history. Like that was going to be a thing regardless of how, like if we somehow became a utopia this year, that's still like the impetus of like taking up this mantle is like dealing with like all of the baggage that this country has because you're representing it, and like then there's the added level of like, will anyone actually see me as Captain America, and
right.
all the extra hurdles that he's gonna have to jump through.
You guys aren't huge comic fans, right?
Right.
You guys know like the movies.
I am, but DC. I oddly enough of the don't of the ones that I know of Marvel, I like a little bit more of X-Men. But Isaiah Bradley, for whatever reason, that was one that when I was younger, there wasn't a comic store in my area, so I was kind of limited by stuff that was in our thrift stores.
Mm-hmm.
Someone gave that whole like line back in like early 2000s, and I was like, cool. So I knew a little bit more about this than I do with some of the other Marvel stuff, which I'm a little bit more just like enjoying the spectacle versus like knowing the history. So
my question would be like, can we name a bunch of black superheroes? And I would not count any. I would not count any that have black in their name. How many can we actually do? Right?
Yeah, the having black in the name is like
after like the big like easy ones like Luke Cage or Blade or Storm, it starts getting harder after Falcon and Rhodey, and then right like Miles Morales. Like I know a bunch. I know like Bishop, right, and Night Thrasher from Marvel, right. There's a couple like that, but like it gets hard after a while. So when I mean name white superheroes, I could do it all day. It'd be easy, right? So I mean there is a point to that. I mean, yes, I'll give Marvel a little tiny bit of a well, yes, but because a lot of the stuff was written like in the 60s, and that's when a lot of the characters were made, and they just making white guys, and at that time, like fine, but like even with that tiny 1% of an excuse, it's still like there's not a ton, right? I mean, Chris Claremont, I think, gave women and a few black characters back in the 70s and 80s when he was running the X-Men a lot better stuff than pretty much anyone did in that studio at the time. Right. So, yeah, I agree with you, Jimmy. As much as people are going to complain, oh, it's too woke or whatever, right? That's too social justice warrior because of that. I'm like, they might have been a little heavy-handed with it, but it's a morality tale. It's superheroes. Of course they're going to be heavy-handed with it. That's the point. But yeah, I mean, there is a point that they're making. I think it's a pretty valid one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, I also very much was in my mind that connection and the connection of the people that disappeared for 5 years and then came back. I mean, I see that there's kind of that arching. They're trying to make that connection between him and what's her name, the redhead that I really hate. Carly, thank you.
You hate her?
I personally, so I was telling Scofield before the show, I have
How
this.
dare you talk about something off camera?
I am so sorry. So for some reason, I absolutely despise bad guys that do super mental manipulation. Like for some reason, it always gets me whenever the bad guy is so much smarter than me that I have to like pull out a thesaurus to understand what the fuck they're saying, or like they're like I'm trying to think about what they're saying, but it's like making me do backflips in my head, even though I'm watching this TV show or movie. For some reason it makes me feel dumb and drives me nuts and I hate it. But
And you thought
so
Carly was doing that?
to me
She's a super soldier and a charismatic leader of like a group, but I never thought she was like playing mind games that much.
I thought she was. I personally thought she was playing mind games with everybody.
I
Like,
just thought she was kind of like a bit of a tormented person who wanted to do good. So there was a lot of chances where like they had conversations and just talked about their beliefs. But there was like maybe one or two times when like maybe she was doing something, like when she was on the phone with Bucky at
Oh
the
my
end. It
God,
seemed
yeah,
like
that
maybe
whole
she was
conversation.
stalling him, but like it wasn't like mind games.
I would argue that in this show, there were mentioned 5 Captain Americas.
They mentioned
Steve was mentioned quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So Steve, John Walker as Captain America,
Yeah.
Isaiah Bradley as an experiment for Captain America, right?
Oh, that's true.
Sam Wilson as Captain America, and Carly.
When was Carly mentioned as a Captain America?
I think she's meant to be another reflection of what Captain America could be if Captain America was a underrepresented, militarized terrorist.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like her, I didn't know her story at all. Actually, I think in the comics it wasn't even a girl. But like I don't know what her storyline was in the comics or whatever. But I was like hoping that she would stick around and either become like completely like, because she's on the edge of like feeling like maybe she'll become a good guy or maybe she'll get even worse kind of a thing. So like either way, if she just completely gives in and becomes like a super bad guy the next season or whatever, I'm like, that's cool. Or maybe they take her in and she realizes the error of her ways and like is redeemed. Like I was really hoping to see that because like it was interesting to see a super soldier who wasn't made by the military and like the USA and all of that sort of like indoctrination of our stuff, which was like a good like foil to what's his face, the U.S. agent, the bad Captain America, I forget his name, but like seeing like what that serum does to different people.
Yeah.
But obviously that didn't happen, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately. No. But yeah, I liked her. I thought she was sympathetic. I mean, when she killed that building of innocent people, like pretty much on purpose, and she's like, "Well, that's the only language they hear." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, like you can tell that it backfires on her too, because that immediately makes them amp up what they're doing, and she kind of like to keep up face sort of has to double down. But like it still has that element of like being a little bit in over her head. Like it still seemed like she was young. It still seemed like she wasn't completely committed. And even at the end when she's like talking to her like second in commands and being like, it doesn't matter if we die, the message will live on kind of a thing. And you can tell that they're not completely on board with it. They're like, well, I didn't really want to die.
Yeah, exactly.
But like even still that it's like the fact that she doesn't have that unwavering support from people, like it still has that vulnerability that made me feel like, she wasn't a complete villain. She was just kind of like winging it and had strong convictions, but like could be convinced that like this was not the way to get to it. And then the fight where like he wouldn't fight her and she was just like very angrily being like, fight me. And then I don't know. I'm sad that she died. I liked that character.
The thing that got me too about that I thought was interesting is we really were angry at John Walker for pretty much decapitating that guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who I don't think he killed Lamar. I think Carly actually killed Lamar.
Yeah,
but was involved in the fight, right?
Yeah.
And sure, I didn't like him decapitating that guy either. Like the guy was obviously surrendering and begging for his life, and the guy just decapitates him, sure. But we decry that. But then we're supposed to really applaud the killing of the larger super soldier by Sharon by putting that little like mercury gas explosive in his vest, right?
I mean, that felt weird. I didn't feel like that was super like thing to be celebrated, but
I was supposed to. I didn't celebrate that one, but
It was weirdly, it was like very graphic, and so like
it was.
I
And
thought
I'm
it was
like,
just a tracker that she put on him, and she was gonna follow him, and then it did that, and that was like I was completely blindsided by the fact that Sharon had other stuff going on too.
oh,
Uh, so
yeah,
when I saw that, I was like, "Holy shit!
yeah.
Why did she go so hard?"
So when she did that, when she slipped that thing in, my wife and I literally were for the entire scene. He's walking into the vehicle. My wife and I were going, "Is it a tracker? Is it a bomb? Is it a tracker? Is it a bomb? Is it a tracker? A bomb?" And then all of a sudden the thing went off, and then we saw his face like melting off. We were like, "What the fuck just happened?" So yeah, and I agree
like
with you.
that's a bit much. Like we just said, like don't murder these people, right? Like if you
Yeah.
can't deal with a fight or something, like okay, I guess, but like
But she
you can't
really,
just murder that guy.
from that point on, she really showed her colors, and I'm with Becca. So not knowing the comics, finding out that she's a bad guy, it was kind of like,
She's not-
wow,
He's
Steve
not a
almost,
fan of comics.
Steve almost put his dick in her. So I'm kind of like, wow, he almost made a bad choice.
Yeah,
She's not like a big bad guy. It's almost more like she's just like a means to the end kind of wants power sort of person. So
Right.
like she could help the good guys, she could help the bad guys. It's kind of the vibe that I got.
But the last scene at the end of the credits, though, or in the middle of the credits, whatever, where she's walking out and she's like, we don't got, hey, super soldiers are off the table now, but we got this, and this, and this. And she's like listing off everything. To me, that makes her a villain to me.
But what if she's taking out a bigger villain?
Well, that's
Never
the
know.
thing.
Maybe.
People are wondering a couple things. One, they're wondering if she's on the phone with Victor Von Doom. That was a fan wish that people want. I'm not sure it's a theory so much because it's of nothing. But the other one that I kind of like is they actually think that Sharon is not Sharon.
Oh, she's one of the aliens from Wonder Woman.
Yeah, from WandaVision, one of the scrolls.
Oh.
But then why did she like when she was pretending to be the security person, she used the stuff like
Right.
to make herself
Because
look like,
you
well,
can't,
why would she go?
Because you couldn't change form in front of Sam. Be like, oh, I can just change form now because I have superpowers.
But she didn't have to.
No,
I don't know. That feels
I
like
don't
a
know.
weird detail for them to have added if she actually is one of them.
I like the idea just because I don't like the idea of Sharon being a bad guy because she's a good guy in the comics.
Right.
Yeah.
Like one of Cap's like main trusted allies. It's like her, Sam, and Bucky are like the three main people that Cap goes to for a lot of the stuff.
Right.
So, but I don't know. But I know Secret Invasion is coming, which is all the Skrulls kind of invading Earth society because there's like a evil. Apparently, there's going to be an evil faction of the Skrulls in the MCU. I mean, Skrulls are bad in the comics, pretty much all of them. But in the MCU, it's a little bit different. But that'll be interesting. I'm curious about that. We'll see.
Wait, is that going to be a movie or a show?
That's a show. Emilia Clarke just got cast to be in that.
Oh, that's the show. Okay, yeah, okay. Yes, everybody's like, oh my god, the show we now hate, Game of Thrones, one of the people we like from it is going to be in this thing.
Yep.
So
She has not done a lot since then. I would love her to be.
No, she did like that really crappy Terminator movie, which was Genesis.
And a couple like a bad Christmas movie,
Yep,
a bad
Christmas
romance
movie, I was gonna say,
movie.
yep.
Yeah.
And she did that movie with one of the guys from Crazy Rich Asians, I believe he's.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, it's a really cheesy love movie. Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about Game of Thrones. I thought the acting was all good in Game of Thrones. It's just
Oh yeah.
I was just bagging on the fact that people hate the show now and they literally just wanted to erase it. So, yeah. So, anyways, so my other thing is the Baron. Going back to the Baron really quickly. So my one thing is that I did like that they showed what happened to him after he was taken by the Wakandans. But my big question is, wait, hold on. Sorry. I thought they would have done their own trial and had them in Wakanda. How did he get to the island prison?
They said they were going to when they.
Yeah,
took
they
him.
said they were going to put.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that because I'm like, I thought that was like the U.S. government's prison. I didn't know that was Wakanda.
I don't know who actually owns the raft in the Marvel.
The raft, thank you.
The raft is supposed to be like the place that like superpowered individuals go.
Right. And
that's where all the Avengers went after Civil War,
Mhm.
right? And Steve broke them out, but they put him in the rafts. They put Zemo there.
Right.
But he got out of like regular prisons, so maybe
Yeah.
they're just like, we don't want to bring him
That's
back
true,
to
yeah.
another regular prison. Let's put him in the best, even if we don't own it.
I think what they're trying to do is they are obviously doing two things with the series right now.
Mhm.
One, they're setting up Young Avengers, 100%.
I'm very
with Eli.
Yep, with Eli Bradley, obviously with that, and then Billy and Tommy are in the Young Avengers. Wanda's kids are big parts of the Young Avengers. Kate Bishop is going to be the focus of Hawkeye. She's obviously a big part of the Young Avengers.
Yep.
And then Cassie Lang, Scott Lang, Ant-Man's daughter, is Stature. She's a big deal in the Young Avengers too. So you have like some of the main Young Avengers cast already on screen.
Right.
So they're obviously doing that. And I think with U.S. Agent and the Contessa, right, Valerie O'Reilly DeFontaine there, I think they're setting up Thunderbolts, which is a bunch of reformed villains who try to do good and kind of get their names back, kind of like Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay.
So I think they're trying to set that up because I know Eli, who's his face, the guy who plays Abomination, Blonsky in the Incredible Hulk films.
Okay.
I know he's supposed to be signed on to come back, right? I think Zemo is going to come back. I think they're going to have U.S. Agent lead them, which will be an interesting turn. I bet that's my guess on that one.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't want to see Zemo just disappear. I like Zemo, but
I think they'll do more with him.
Again, I just think that maybe they need to flesh him out a little bit better, I guess, instead of just making it. I mean, I guess connect the two, connect the Civil War of him and then this show's version of him, like connect the two and make it more cohesive. Because again, it feels like it's just two different like mirrored versions of the same character somehow. Because he didn't have any money or any like I don't know. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. Kind of.
I have a question about that because you said you didn't like people who do mind games, and I feel like Zemo is almost entirely mind games.
Yeah, he is.
But so I don't know how to explain it. But at least
Oh. That was great, man.
Is it more like the moral stuff that you don't like?
I think
that was more of Carly's thing. Is like who's actually the hero in this situation, and a lot of times it seemed like her because she was helping like refugees and stuff.
So for me, Zemo is entertaining because of the fact that like you have yes, he plays mind games, but to me it's like more you can tell where he's going with it. Except for when he all of a sudden pulls a gun and tries to pop somebody's face off or something like that. But like I don't know how to explain.
He gives more of like the Sherlocky villain kind of vibe. Like you can hang out with him, whatever, like, but there's some subplot that I haven't figured out yet that he's working towards, and when it is revealed, he's going to be like 6 steps ahead.
Right.
I think part of it maybe is Zemo's a bit more of an honest villain.
True.
Right. He has his own motivations. He thinks they're right, but he's not like grandstanding like morality. And he's also like, I'm going to betray you. You know I'm going to betray you. When I betray you, it's very obvious, but you're not going to see it coming, even though I'm telling you about it. Because
But with her, it's more of she's trying to get people to like follow her cause, including going after Falcon and Winter Soldier. Okay, like to me that I don't know. To me,
because she's like coming from a moral standpoint, and she's like interacted with these people, and they've seemed good. So she's like, "Why aren't you fighting on our side?" Mm-hmm. Like, there's a weird because of the blip stuff. There's like 2 sides that are good, and like the whole thing at the end there, where the captain's talking to like the politicians, which was great, by the way. As like someone who works in PR, just like. I couldn't help but feel like, why are these like politicians not leaving? This is so bad. Like, there's no way they can leave this looking good. They should just walk away and not give him the chance to say this.
The press is right there, so it's all being televised. Like, ugh.
Yeah. But like that was the whole thing. Is like they're both doing good for their individual sides and not realizing, or are intentionally doing it. Who knows? But like realizing that they're fucking the other side over, and like it's an equally bad situation. Like there's a bunch of people that had to be displaced and like came together for 5 years and like was making progress, and then it all gets rerouted when like these people come back. So like it's not an easy choice. So like she has a very firm standing, and that's why she's not even that charismatic really. She's just like, people are really willing to move to this cause because they're literally getting fucked over and don't have any other choice. Like they're in refugee camps. Mm-hmm. So like
I still hate her. I don't know. I just fucking, there was something about her I hated. I
look at it this way too. I think it's in Infinity War. Cap comes back to the Avengers headquarters, and General Ross, or Secretary of Defense Ross, is there as like the hologram. And it's basically like, you're a war criminal, like you're not supposed to be here. And he's basically like, I'm here to fight. If you get in my way, I'll fight you too. And just like walks past him. And it's like, I'm going to do what I think is right here. screw the government, screw what people are the authority figures and who are telling me what to do is right. I'm going to do what's right.
Right.
The difference is Steve, as they point out very often in this show, is a very different type of person than pretty much anyone else.
Right.
And 99% of the time is doing exactly the right thing in the right time. He only made a few really mistakes in the MCU that were kind of iffy and morality, like defending Bucky and not telling Tony that he killed his parents. That's kind of iffy. We can talk about that one back and forth. There's a couple small things like that. Carly is basically doing the same thing Steve did, but she's not right. Right. But she's basically like, I know what's right. Fuck everyone else. I'm going to do what's right. But Sam's like, I know you think that, but it's way more complicated than you're making it out to be. And he basically said the same thing to the politicians. If you guys, it's a lot more complicated than you're making it out to be. Mm-hmm. Right. And he even says, it goes, oh, it's complicated. You don't understand it. And Sam's like, no, I do. It's even more complicated than you're trying to make it out to be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
The whole thing.
I feel like with both Carly and like Walker, the sort of difference between them and Falcon and Bucky, who are seen to be like the ones that are more in the right, it's just that they have a more limited world view of like they don't see both sides. They're both on opposite sides and they're fighting for those people and they're seeing their role as just like to completely and 100% fight for those people and everyone else is against them kind of a thing versus like when you see Bucky and Falcon, like they're much more worldly. Like you see them speak different languages and understand different languages at certain points. Like clearly they've traveled a lot, also just been through a lot of shit, so they have this like perspective of like there's no us and them, like it's just everyone's the same and my responsibility is to fight for humanity, not like a country kind of a thing,
which I think Bucky points out when he says that to Sam. He's like, I didn't really understand the ramifications of giving the shield to a black man. Mm-hmm. Because Bucky's all androids, aliens, and wizards.
Yeah, I like that point.
But he's like, I didn't really think about it because I'm used to fighting in wars. I just went from one war to another war to another war. So like culture and society and the morality of it, he's like, I didn't really consider that. I just said, hey, Steve's supposed to give you the shield. The world needs a Captain America. Here you go. He didn't really understand. He goes, oh yeah, that's going to be really goddamn complicated. Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, he also just thinks of like the combat part. Like Sam is incredibly capable and if it was all entirely battlefields, like no problem at all, but like doesn't think of that other side of the job, which is like talking and being a symbol and all that stuff, which he's never really had to do because like what he's doing has been whatever. And he's like in the process of like going to therapy and becoming a civilian again. So
but again, I think he thinks Sam would be good at that kind of stuff too. It's just that he doesn't take the bigger picture into account.
Yeah.
Which is what he says. He's like, yeah, whoops. my bad on that one.
By the way, speaking of the therapy stuff, Bucky's backstory was like way like they already were giving him a backstory in the MCU, but like this one just like it was so well done. So well
like
done.
the deprogramming stuff.
Yeah, the deprogramming.
I wasn't sure if they'd shown that and because I haven't seen 100% of Marvel media because there's God so much right now. But like I wasn't sure if this was the first time they'd shown that stuff of him like at the fire and
so the fire stuff that was new, but they had referenced that he had been possibly deprogrammed by the Wakandans. I forget which film it was, but I know that they had referenced it at one point, and they definitely showed all this, like a couple of scenes where he was, they set up the whole like the White Wolf thing with them.
Yeah, that was at the end of Black Panther. I remember seeing that.
That was
Civil
War, Black Panther, and Infinity War kind of tell that story.
There you go. Yeah, but like I said though, this one like Bucky, I don't know how to explain it, but they basically more humanized him in this one to me than like, don't get me wrong, all the stuff that they did in the MCU with him was awesome and great, but I really like getting him, first of all, getting his hair short was
a little less greasy.
Exactly. For some reason, like it looked good at first, but then after a while it was kind of like, can we just cut it down?
With the face mask and the goggles, because it gives him but like when the goggles are gone, like just cut his hair. It looks much better.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like
Winter Soldier with the long hair, it looked fantastic with the whole mask and everything. That was great.
Oh yeah. But then as soon as he started losing that and he started becoming more human than anything else, then it was just like, just cut the hair. Like Anyways,
they use hair to kind of convey stuff about people. I've noticed, like when
Thor.
what's his face? Oh yeah, Thor. Yeah, but even like
Ragnarok.
in this one, when after he kills the dude with the shield and like he's like falling apart, kind of a thing. Like
all over the place.
he grows his beard out, and you can just
Yeah.
tell at the end like he's completely different from the very beginning, like clean
Yeah.
shaven, like perfect Captain America.
Yeah.
I appreciated that little detail.
And one thing I was talking to Jimmy about, unfortunately, during this, just to
Sorry.
give a little bit of a loop again, I found the fighting in Falcon and Winter Soldier way better than the Mortal Kombat.
Yo, so I'm someone I enjoy fight scenes, but I also have such a small attention span, and if there's not like plotty kind of stuff happening through the fighting, I just like I'll check my phone. But I found the stuff with Falcon and like the way that he uses his wings in combat super compelling.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
when he like puts them into the ground to stop him from going backwards, I was like, yo, that's cool as hell.
Yeah, so my wife and I was doing the exact same thing when the last episode when he combines the shield work with the wings. Oh, like so good, so
Yeah.
fucking good.
I just love the three-way fight, like Sam and Bucky versus John Walker.
Oh yeah,
Nice short fight. I think it did a really good job, but it was good. Like it was one of those things too. I'm watching it. I'm like, I'm a little annoyed, but then I kind of thought about it and went online. I was like, yeah, I agree with people's theories. Like, I still think if Bucky wanted to win that fight, he could have.
oh absolutely.
But I think the problem is he doesn't. He's holding way back all this time because he isn't just going like kill, right? Going to Winter Soldier mode and just kill him. Because I think if he just like turned it all off and fought him, I think Bucky would have just killed him.
Yeah,
Super Soldier Serum or not.
Mhm.
But I like that fight. I think that was fight really good, and it was good because like you can see them kind of working and figuring out how we're going to beat this guy, right?
Yeah.
He's as Bucky. He can fight as good as Sam. How are we going to do this? And you can see them kind of figuring out as they went. So when they won, you're like, I buy it.
Yeah.
They figured out how to do it, which was good.
That one was more like kind of a teamwork thing because that was another running thing at the beginning of them not being a super great team. Like obviously had rapport, but like in the field they weren't super attuned. So in that fight, there's a couple good moments that showed like that they had each other's back. There was like several ones where he came out and tried to do the thing where he brought the shield down on them, and like first Sam saves Bucky, and then later Bucky saves him in the exact same way. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, nice teamwork. And then at the end, Bucky is the one that gives him the shield, and
That end mover that throws him into Sam, like Sam like drop kicks him and knocks him out. Like that whole thing was good.
yeah.
It was good. I like that.
I did appreciate like he took the serum, he was a super soldier, but even like when he had it, like there were several moments like fighting Carly or just being like this girl is still kicking my ass and she's like not a trained soldier and any of this stuff. And he thought that the super serum was what was going to make him like
Yep.
be on the same level as all these people. And then he's like, she still kicks my ass. Like, what is wrong? Why is this not working? And then also seeing like Sam not having the serum and still being like better than him. Like, I enjoyed watching those sort of gears turn in his head as he saw those moments of just being like, why am I not enough?
Right. Yeah, and my thing is that with his character in particular, I kind of I don't know, I'm on the fence about like I wish he kind of maybe walked away at the end of the season, and then he's not gonna walk away. I'm kind of on the fence about how my feelings are towards this because Bucky showing like that moment when they're walking away and he's making fun of like his sports team or something like that, like sort of showing that they're like they're becoming friends. I was kind of torn on that because I'm kind of like he tried to kill you guys. He took this. He clearly took the serum. Like I don't know how the fuck nobody's even brought that up yet. But the thing is, like that was so bizarre to me. It's like it's
Val knows.
clear as day. He took the serum, guys. Come on, like. The other thing is about the serum. I will give credit to Baron though, like smashing it and not taking a single vial of it. Like that was
that holds true to his morality, right? Because he's like, I hate this stuff.
Mhm.
And he had the chance to get it. He's like, nope.
Yeah, instead of taking one to sell it or taking himself or anything like that, like he could have easily done that.
Yeah, no. His morality, the whole thing was like destroying it. And when given the chance to take it, he stuck true to what he's actually about. So that was cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was like when Bucky was willing to let him out. I was like, I don't know. I felt like it was because he understood like he's going to up until this point he will be on our side, and then once they're gone, we're fucked. Like we've got to deal with him, kind of a thing.
But then Walker, yeah, like I said, I'm kind of torn on if I really like the idea that maybe he's going to become part of the crew, or if he, I don't know. I feel as though he kind of should have just walked away and disappeared. But then, Ellen from or whatever the hell, Elaine from Seinfeld shows up and has those two scenes or whatever, and I'm kind of like, well, first of all, I absolutely hated her character because I hated her character because she was just sleazy as fuck.
Well, she's supposed to be.
Yeah. I understand that, and I definitely think that they picked the perfect actress for it. I think that's great. But the other thing that bothers me is the fact that the girlfriend's not going, no, red alerts, let's not do this. This is not good.
Yeah, the girlfriend's a weird character. She's just like, I'm here to be supportive in every scene. I don't know why she was included.
How about the fact that in the very first scene, she admits that she blew him or had sex with him in the locker room before every game? Like, that was the introduction.
I don't remember that. That's like, an incredible way to come in.
I was just like,
Jimmy. But I mean that. So in the beginning, it was like setting him up to be this America's sweetheart. So like I can understand that because you've got your girlfriend. It's like he's not a superhero. It's like he's going to his high school varsity game and whatever. Yeah. But so that felt natural. I guess that went over my head. The extra comment about
Well, I mean, like a sly, like, I remember being in here before the games, wink, wink, nudge. But then there was like another comment that went with it. But the thing was that for me, it was just kind of like, first of all, you introduce her that way. And I totally get what you're saying, that she's like kind of like the arm candy of the situation where she's supportive for the cameras kind of thing. And then it went to the point where towards the end, it's like, she's not sitting there questioning this woman who gives you, first of all, gives you a blank card. I'm not gonna lie, that was funny. When they're like, it's a blank card. So like, she doesn't question who this woman is, or the fact that all of a sudden her husband, her boyfriend, husband, whatever the hell he is, like first of all, he murdered somebody on camera, and she stuck by him and didn't even bat an eye. That's a red flag for me.
Well, I mean, he's a soldier. He's been murdering people for the United States for years.
But when you're supposed to be Captain America,
well, Steve killed people.
Yes, but
he's in World War II shooting off guns and stuff. I bet you
slippery slope
died. Yeah,
right. But there's a bit. Well, so first of all, the government could have easily covered that up. And let's be realistic about this. He covered up the fact that he killed a lot of people.
Well, Steve, sure.
Yeah, Steve. I'm sorry. Yeah, Steve.
Right.
You can't cover up what he did, what Walker did.
No, because everyone was just recording their cell phones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seconds. But I mean, the thing is, that's tough. That was war. So again, it's this whole like, when is murder okay sort of thing. Like Walker did it, everyone hated him, but then Sharon does it, everyone's kind of like, okay, she dissolved that guy in the truck. That's whatever. I'm like, really though, because that's pretty similar, right?
But it wasn't filmed. No. I was worried at the end when Captain Falcon came down with Carly that everyone was going to assume that he killed her, and then that was.
I had the same thought. I had the same exact thought.
But Sharon shooting Carly made sense because Carly was probably going to shoot, Sam. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of a justified.
Could have shot him in the leg or something.
But like, that's one of the things I'm like, well, okay, that one I'd kind of give you, but like. The whole idea of like killing was kind of like, how do you mar the shield sort of thing, which was interesting. But I don't think even Sam and Bucky were pissed at Walker for killing that guy. They're just like, you're losing control.
Well,
that wasn't even the guy that killed your friend.
Right. Dude, you're like,
so not only is he losing control, he literally used the shield as the murder weapon.
Yeah, he soiled it.
So that's my big thing is that
in one shot you see him standing with like the bottom half of it covered in.
Oh my god! So
the first thing that Sam does when he gets it is like wipe the blood off. Like, could it be any more symbolic that you're the person who's meant to have this?
Oh yeah, right.
So that scene, by the way, like the actual death scene was just mind blowing. Like, it was so well done because you didn't have to sit there and show the actual impact like a horror movie or something. You got what was going on. There's
worse.
Blood all over his face. There's blood all over the shield. There's blood all over him. There's blood all over this entire like area. Like, and then
but the camera, the phones.
The beautiful way that he like. First of all, he strapped it in exactly like Steve does, and then raises it up, and then you just slowly notice all the blood. Like, it was beautifully shot. Like, there's no other way you could have presented the fact that this guy is a maniac and he's definitely like shit all over this national symbol. Like, it was beautifully done.
to your point earlier about him sticking around and being kind of disappointed that he did, I was a little bit too because they did such a good job of making him seem like the antithesis of all the other heroes that you like.
Right.
And it would have felt good for him to go away. But in the end, I'm not mad, especially knowing that he had a bigger part in the comics and maybe will come and eventually lead this other group. Like, but the whole thing about it is that you give people chances. That's kind of why I wish that Carly had that chance to come to the light, but they're giving it to him and he's going to turn it around. I also think he's a really good actor. Like there was a lot of like weird little nuances with just like his hand movements and like his like ticks when he's getting like upset in the background that I noticed, and I was like, okay, like I'm not mad if this character sticks around. Like he'll probably do some cool stuff. But like
the son of some famous actress.
Everyone in Hollywood is related to someone.
He's the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
That's who it is. Yes. There you go.
Wyatt Russell. Yeah, that's why it looks like Kurt Russell if you look at him dead on.
Yeah. But you're right though. The facial expressions is definitely something I was picking up on very early on.
Yeah,
like as soon as like you got through the first scene with him, and then the second scene where he's actually like he's like about to go on patrol or whatever he was about to do, and then you start noticing even with the mask on the facial expressions that started to come. And then he's
like when his hands were at his side, he was always like doing this like weird little thing of like being nervous and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it was like it's awesome. Like I do agree that it would be cool to see him in more stuff just in general. Because
it would be cool to see him be more of a villain. I guess if he's gonna come back and be a good guy, maybe it won't be as cool for me.
He goes back and forth quite a bit. He's never really a full-on villain, but he's always kind of iffy on the hero side too.
Okay.
He's an anti-hero. He's misguided a lot of the time.
All right. Well, I also think that like it's kind of like a good, if he had exited, it would have been a good time. Is what I'm saying. Like his arch would have been completed to me, but seeing that he's going to be in there and he's going to be playing, what did she name him?
Special Agent.
U.S. Agent, yeah.
U.S. Agent. Sorry.
That's going to be interesting. So
yeah, that's what he's in the comics. He's got that black and red costume. That's his whole thing in the comics.
Right.
Cool.
So
my whole thing with the series, I thought it was good. There were episodes that dragged on. You could tell there were a couple episodes that the editing looked weird. Like the pacing was off, I think, because it was kind of edited quick because of COVID.
I heard they had to do some reshoots too.
Well, that was a problem. This was supposed to come out first and then WandaVision. But they had to do a bunch of reshoots on this because they had some other issues that went on, like Jimmy was saying. And WandaVision was almost done. So they're like, let's send out WandaVision first. And Stacey and I both were saying we wish this had come out before. Because WandaVision really kind of blew a lot of people away because it was very creative and very groundbreaking and very different. And this was a little more straightforward Marvel content. It was good, but it was like straightforward Marvel content. So I think this would have been better. The thing is, I thought WandaVision was a lot more narrow in its focus by definition because it was about Wanda.
Yep.
Right? Vision, I guess, but mostly just Wanda. And it was about really one thing. It was about grief, right? It was about loss. That really is what the show was about. Everything else around it, the whole magic and whatever, right? And making Spectrum was a new hero, was Monica Rambeau. All of that was secondary. It was about Wanda's grief because it hadn't been processed through all these tragic bullshit things that happened to her throughout the movies. This show was a lot about other stuff. It was about Steve. It was about passing the torch. You know, it was a bit of a bridge series, so I think that's where it suffered too, because I had to get certain people and certain, like, we have to have U.S. Agent here. We have to have Sam have the shield. We need to have Bucky over here for Captain America 4 because we're going to make a Captain America 4. Because that was announced like right after the finale, that there isn't really going to be a second season necessarily. This is going to be Captain America 4. So they're all leading up to that movie. So they're using it as a bridge. So I think it suffered there. But I think it covered a lot more stuff than WandaVision did. Right? That was, like I was saying at the end film, was great, where he's talking, like the main takeaway I got, which is really difficult and people don't want to do for a lot of reasons. Right? I'm not going to judge people for this because it's tough, but like taking away those labels, you know, terrorism, terrorist, thug, you know, whatever, it makes that much more difficult because you gotta go, well, why are they the way they are? Right? Like, I can't condone what Carly did. I can't condone the people blow up, like, you know, the 9/11, the World Trade Center, obviously, right? That's horrible. You can't do that. That's an atrocious and monstrous thing. But all those people who do terrorist activities, all those people, there's reasons in their head for it. Right. And that's what he's saying is like, we need to have this conversation because if we just react the same way that they do, it just goes on forever. So like we have to step back and like, all right, why are people doing this?
Hmm.
We need to have these conversations, and they're not easy to do, and people don't want to have them because these things they're doing are monstrous, and that's difficult. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think that's kind of what Sam's speech kind of boiled down to. And it's a very difficult topic, but it is a very optimistic tone he sets because he's Captain America, and that's kind of what he's supposed to do. You know, he's supposed to be the one who has the answer. At the very least, the answer might just be better. I can't tell you how to do it, but the answer is just be better.
Like
Right?
there's
And
no one solution. You take it one thing at a time and make the right decision each time.
exactly. But that's Captain America to me. That's why I've always liked Captain America, because he isn't like Iron Man or Thor, who grow better over time. He starts out good.
Right.
The world keeps telling him get worse. You know, compromise, do the wrong thing for the right reason, and he just keeps saying no. Right? That's Captain America. The world keeps trying to change him, and he just keeps not changing because he knows what the right thing
Started
is.
swearing by the end, so I mean,
Yeah, exactly. But like again, like his code just got strengthened. The
Right.
more you saw him, the more convicted he got, the more resolute he was.
Right.
Which is why I like him, because he's right. And sometimes the answer isn't as simple like, oh, I have the answer, I'll solve it for you. The answer is sometimes, yeah, it sucks. Just do the work. Right. And that's why I like Cap. And I think Sam did a good job kind of having that kind of same spirit, like Steve did at the end, where he's like, no, there is no answer. They're wrong, but you're not necessarily right. Right. And if that's the case, then neither of you, or both of you are wrong, neither of you are right. You got to figure out why that is.
Right.
And it's not easy. And I can't tell you how to do it, but you have to.
Then in that same sort of thing, like I can't tell you how to do it, but he does kind of in a way. Like, because then his next things that he goes on to do is like he updates the memorial so it includes all these people that were erased. Like, because the way that you do that is you get the full picture. Like, whatever the story is, and the reason we're making these horrible decisions is we're favoring one group that we hear the story of. Who are the people in the room? Like, that was a very poignant, on the nose comment that felt very relevant these days. Is like, you can't have a solution that helps everybody if not everybody is in the room, kind of a thing. So like he says I can't do it, but then he does it, which is a very Captain America thing of like, oh no, I'm just one person, whatever, and then immediately goes and does the thing that's like, yes, okay, that's the example that we should all follow.
Right.
Yeah, I think you put it very beautifully there. That is, I cried in the final episode. I was very touched. I thought it was very well executed. And I had mentioned before that like the first two episodes I wasn't super hooked in, and then by the end I definitely was. So I liked it.
Talking about that inspirational stuff. I cry all the time with that kind of stuff. Like the random acts of kindness videos you see on YouTube, they just blow me away every time. I love that kind of stuff when people are being true to who people really are in my mind, because I think people are good deep down. It's like very angry with other people because they don't agree with me. I think people deep down are good. We all want to do the right thing. We all want to help each other. We all want to save each other when we have the chance. The only thing that gets in our way is people get afraid. Right? People get afraid of each other. People get afraid of blame or afraid of failure or afraid of like hurting someone or abandoning their family, so they don't step out. Right? They see that thing. I saw a movie yesterday that wasn't great. I'm not going to talk about it here, but there's a scene where they are watching this guy arguing with this woman and he's like pushing her. And the kid almost goes up to say something to him and the woman goes, oh no, that's not our business. And he talks later to his mom. He's like, you didn't do anything to help him. And she's like, what was I supposed to do? That's not our business. And he goes, I think if someone's doing that to someone, it's everybody's business. Mm-hmm. And she goes, well, I didn't want things to get violent. And he's like, violence isn't the worst thing in the world. And she's like, well, then what's the worst thing in the world? And he says, apathy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, doing nothing is the worst thing you can do. I don't condone violence, right? There's definitely other ways to do it. You don't need to be violent to solve problems. But doing nothing is honestly worse in my mind. Because it is everyone's responsibility. Like if you see something happening and you can get somebody involved, if you can't do it safely, but you can get someone else involved to do something, you should.
Right.
You have to, right? Like I used to live near an MIT frat, and we would hear people yelling and screaming outside in the alley. And then again, I hear some girl screaming, and I don't know if she's screaming because she's frightened or she's surprised or she's just being crazy. But if it went on for a little bit, I would call the police because I don't know. But I don't want to be that person who's sitting there going, oh, I'm sure she's fine while she's getting murdered.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And no news ever came in. I'm sure the frat was fine. I think they were just being silly. But the thing is, like, I'm not going to be that person who stands there like that woman who got attacked and everyone was like, oh, no, I'm not going to call the police. I'm sure someone else will. I'm not doing that.
Right.
If something's going on and I can do something about it, whatever minor that is, I'm going to step in and do it because I think that's everyone's responsibility. And that's, again, me reading Captain America books as a kid. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That kind of stuff. I'm like, no. I mean, if I have a little bit of power in this situation to help, I'm going to do it because everyone should. So,
Agreed.
yeah. But that's why I like this one. I thought it was good.
Right.
I don't think it was as, like I said, I don't think it was as groundbreaking as WandaVision. WandaVision was way more entertaining. And what the fuck is happening? Oh, the mystery of everything.
Right.
This was a lot more like straightforward action stuff, but it had some good points. The last few episodes were way better.
Oh yeah.
Like episode like 4 on, I thought was really good. First 3, like I think you were saying, Jimmy, the first 3 were kind of like, or maybe you were saying too, Fen, like binging it was probably better because watching week to week, the first few, like I'm not as sold on this as I was like WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely a good binge, I will say.
Yeah, I was about to say like the first episode was a good setup for like where the two of them are, and then I think that like the second and the third episodes were more building towards like hey, let's get to where we need to be, and then like you said,
and then the 5th episode was just like the festival beach episode where we build a boat and we train. I love that one. That was my favorite one.
Yeah,
and then we get back to business.
That was good. That was like the vacation or Hawaii episode, like the break.
Yes.
Oh, just do the vacation montage here for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I liked episode 5. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you use the arm? I'm right-handed.
I'm right-handed. Yeah, I like that.
I don't always think of it.
The best has to be from, I think it's episode 1 that you mentioned earlier, Scofield. What is it? The witches, the warlords, and the aliens or whatever.
Yeah, aliens, androids, and wizards.
That's what it is. That definitely. Oh my god, that's definitely an amazing line.
That was good.
The whole conversation was amazing.
That was good.
So,
well, I think we're basically at time, aren't we?
I was about to say, oh yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
It's about an hour.
We had a good discussion.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. What are we talking about next time, Jimmy?
It won't matter because it's going to be something we already recorded.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
So this is episode 2. So what is episode 3, Jimmy?
Episode 3 is actually going to be about
Fast food.
video games.
Oh, nope, video games.
Duh.
Well,
Stuff is coming.
We got
video
games,
games,
fast food, and then our guilty pleasure TV shows. That one. So I gotta say, Becca's been going ham on the thumbnails.
There's hidden messages in all of them. Be on the lookout.
The guilty pleasure one I fucking love because it covers all 3 of our guilty pleasures in one.
But you wouldn't guess it by looking at it.
Exactly.
You also wouldn't know whose is whose by looking at it.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no. Even if you can sit there and figure out the 3 references from the thumbnail before you watch it, I guarantee you're not gonna get whose is who though.
That'd be a good thing to throw out there and see if people can guess ahead of time.
It is a good one.
We're getting ahead of ourselves though.
We got to remember that in a few weeks when we go to post that one. So, but yeah, I was about to say this is posting next, and then like I said, video games is after this one. So
this is going to be going up on Fridays, Jimmy, going forward?
Yeah, it looks like probably Thursday nights, Friday mornings, somewhere around there, so that you can get your exclamation points on during the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Can follow us at Exclamation Pod on Twitter or Exclamation Podcast everywhere else.
Yep, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're gonna have the Spotify and the iTunes and the Anchor and the whatever else, the RSS,
and maybe even the TikTok.
Maybe even the TikTok.
In front of everything. We're not that old. What the fuck is wrong with us?
I know.
We gotta get
put the podcast up on the interweb for the
interwebs. I don't even know how the fuck to do the RSS feed thing. So the audio will be somewhere at some point.
Fantastic.
This one will be outdated, but at least I'm going to post it right now.
And the cool thing is, like you were saying, Jimmy, this is obviously the most recent episode we're recording because of the time-sensitive nature.
Yes.
But when you actually get to the new episodes, we're actually recording, which is going to be like episode like 6, 7, those ones.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you'll be seeing some new backgrounds because Fen and I are moving.
Oh yeah, this will be the last time you see my grandmother, my great grandmother.
Yeah. So that'd be good. Fen's moving into an apartment. My wife and I bought a house. We're moving into a house in like a month. So that'll be nice. So maybe not the next ones we record, but the ones after that will be in my office. But Fen will have her new space. So that'd be cool.
And then I'll feel left out and I'll have to move around my stuff out in the background.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I already own a house, but I feel sad about it.
Hey man, I'm not gonna lie, man. I bought the house at the perfect time. It was before I had my kid and the pandemic happened, and
yeah, it's all good stuff.
My prison, get me out of it. Help me.
Okay, so anyway, we're done.
That's our cue to stop recording.
All right.
Okay, help me.